Hi loves, I hope everyone is having a beautiful day so far. Today I am bringing you what is hopefully a helpful guide, a little bit of insight to what all is in my vintage hairstyling toolkits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rebox my hair tool basket. I have it right here. I'm going to rebox it with everything that I use to style my hair in vintage hairstyles. I'm going to go through what each item is, a little bit of how I use it, and why I think it's important. So, the first things I'm going to start with are my combs and my brushes. And the first one that I love to use is my boar bristle brush. This is possibly the most important thing that I have in my toolkit, aside from maybe my teasing combs and brush. This is extremely important for a couple of reasons. Number one is you have to tease your hair a lot in vintage hairstyles, and you're going to use your boar bristle brush to help smooth over that tease, because when you brush with the boar bristle brush, it's not going to go all the way through your hair. So it's just going to smooth over that top layer, making it really nice, pretty on the outside, but structural on the inside, keeping that structure on the inside that you get from your tease. The other reason is because when you do vintage hairstyles, you want to do them on either second day or third day hair. You never want to do it on fresh hair. A boar bristle brush will spread out all of the oils from your scalp, from the scalp of your hair all the way to the ends of your hair, which is going to do a couple of things. One, it's going to allow your hair to have a natural hold all throughout it. The other thing, it's going to prevent it from getting oily around the scalp, getting that gross, shiny feeling, and it's going to naturally condition your hair. So if you are someone that has oily hair, I used to have really oily hair, this saved my life. It spread out the oil without drying out my scalp like washing my hair every day was doing. So I highly recommend, even if you're not doing vintage hairstyles, get a boar bristle brush. It is amazing. It is great. I absolutely love my boar bristle brush. Another couple things that I use are my teasing brush and my teasing comb. And I kind of use both of these for different teasing reasons. I use my comb if I'm teasing very small sections. I also use the tip of it because it is a rat tail comb. I'll use it to help section my hair and make smooth parts. I'll also use the comb part to make those parts. If I need a really precise tease, then I'll use my comb, but I don't always tease with my comb. I mostly actually use my comb to smooth out large sections that maybe have a lot of flyaways, if I'm doing finger waves, different things like that. I use my comb more to style than to actually get some structure. But like I said, if I am teasing really small sections, I need a very precise tease, then I'll use my teasing comb. But for other teasing needs, most of my teasing needs, I use my teasing brush. And this brush also has a very, more of a sharper point on it. So I will use this for sectioning. I mostly do use the rat tail comb though. But this teasing brush is amazing. It's going to give you a really big volumized tease. It teases quickly, it teases amazingly, it teases well. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. It teases very well. When you're teasing your hair, whether you're using the brush or the comb, you want to tease in a C shape. So what I mean by that is you're kind of doing it like that, making a C shape. If you just tease up and down, you're not going to tease efficiently. But if you do it in a more of a C shape, you're going to tease your hair more efficiently. You're actually going to tease your hair better. So those are my two prime teasing tools. The other two brushes that I use are my round brushes, and I just have two different sizes just depending on the style. I use them in the exact same way, it just depends on the style. If I need a tighter curl, I'm going to use my smaller one. If I need a larger curl, I use my bigger one. I use my bigger one more if I'm doing a victory roll and I just need to smooth out that curl. If I'm doing more of a wave hairstyle, then I'll use my bigger one. If I need to style really tight curls and I need to brush them out, then sometimes I'll use my smaller one. But I really use these guys for shaping my hair. And really the size is just dependent on how tight I need that curl to be or how large I need that curl to be. So that's how I use both of these guys. And then moving along, I'm going to now talk about the clips and pins that I use. So to start, I use these little clipped prongs. Let's see, just like a little alligator clip prong. I use these if I've curled my hair with heat. I use these guys to set them. You don't have to necessarily use the prong clips to set a curl. You can use foam rollers, you can use Velcro rollers. I just really like to set them with the pronged clips. If I'm doing a pin curl wet set, then I'll use these guys. I have these, and this is just one of many that I have. You can never have too many of these guys. So that's what I use these for. It's highly important to set heated curls. Reason being, think about if you were to bake cookies. You're not just going to pull it off a hot pan and eat it. You want them to cool down before you eat them so they can rest, so they can finish cooking. It's a similar concept with your hair. If you curl your hair with heat and then just kind of let it droop down, it's going to form that droopy shape and it's not going to hold that curl very well. These guys, if you set them in anything, it doesn't have to be these like I said, but if you set them in some way, your curls are going to hold the shape better. I use these guys to hold my heat curls and then also my wet set pin curls. I will make 2 videos on how I use those specifically, but that's what I mostly use these guys for. And then I have my large alligator clips. I use these mostly for sectioning my hair. If I'm doing a hairstyle that requires multiple sections, I need to get the other sections out of the way. I'll use these guys. Something else I use these for is for shaping my hair. Like my cinnamon swirl here, a friend of mine calls it my cinnamon roll swirl. Sometimes I'll actually clip it right in the center just to kind of hold that shape while the hairspray's setting. If I'm doing a big bang wave, I'll also use this just to kind of clip it in, smooth that wave over it. So I use these really for molding my hair and then also sectioning it. Using clips to mold your hair will save you so much time and frustration. Experiment with these. See how your hair responds to them. I'm going to be doing like a vintage big volumized wave. I will also use these guys just to kind of pin them in place. I'm doing finger waves. I'm also going to use these. Experiment with them. Play around with them. I prefer the metal ones to the plastic ones. The metal ones tend to be a little bit thinner. So they help you mold your hair a little bit easier than the plastic ones will. With that being said, that the metal ones are thinner, they do wear out a little bit quicker. But for the most part, they last a fairly long time, and they work more efficiently. So again, you can never have too many of these guys. These are great. Experiment with them. See how your hair reacts to them. Everyone's hair is different, and that's okay. So yeah, these guys, these are great. Get yourself some of these. Other types of pins that I use, I'm going to go into the kinds of bobby pins that I use. And these are the 2 main shapes. I do have different sizes of these, but these are the 2 main shapes. So I have these curved ones, and these I use primarily for shaping my hair. If I have a victory roll that's right on the side and it's kind of poking out right here, I will use it to kind of pin it down. It's going to kind of shape to my scalp so that way I don't have anything sticking out in the wrong spot. Another way that I'm going to use these, if I'm doing like a pulled back side, I'll clip this kind of my hair as well, just because it really shapes to my scalp. For security reasons, though, I use these kinds with the ridges on them. If you can see that. If anything needs to be held, it's not going to stay held. I use these. These have just a little bit more grip to them, so they're going to be more functional rather than shaping your hair. So if I'm doing a big victory roll or like pinning my swirl right now to the scalp of my hair, I use these. So anything to do with structure, the ridges one, anything to do with shaping, I'm going to use my curved ones for. The two hairpins that I use, again, they're two different, these are just two different sizes. They're the exact same one, but it's just two different sizes. The larger ones I use when I'm doing like a really large bun or a chignon. I'll use the larger ones. They hold more hair. The smaller ones I'll use for a smaller bun or French twist kind of a thing. They both work the exact same. It just depends on how much hair I'm using. The next couple things I want to talk about are my irons. I have two different types of curling irons. I have a clamp iron and then I have a wand. Excuse me. I usually have both a 3/4 inch, this is the 3/4 inch, and a 1/2 inch. I currently don't have a 1/2 inch. I need to get a new one. But I try to have a couple different sizes. Now the size of your barrel is really dependent on the type of hairstyle and the length of your hair. If your hair is shorter, you're going to need a smaller one, closer to a 1/2 inch or a 3/4 inch. My hair comes to about here, so I use the 3/4 inch or the 1/2 inch. If it's longer, you might need more of a 1 inch barrel. It really just depends on your hair length and how your hair is cut. Don't be afraid to use different types of curling irons or size curling irons for one hairstyle. Depending on the hairstyle, you might need to use a 1/2 inch curling iron for the bottom portions and a little bit of a larger one, like a 3/4 inch on the top part of your hair. I tend to use the 3/4 inch clamp one, this one right here, if I'm doing a hairstyle that I want to really show off my curls. I don't want to wave. I want nice, visibly noticeable curls. I'll use this one. If I need volume, I use my wand. Or if I just need to get my hair into a shape that I can mold it, it's not going to stay into the curl. It just really needs the volume or some sort of texture or shape to mold, then I'll use the wand. The wand is going, at least for my hair, gives me more of a wave, doesn't give me a curl. So, depends on the hairstyle. Don't be afraid. Like I said, you may need to use both types of curling irons on one hairstyle. Just depends on what you're doing. Experiment with these. Play around with them on maybe an afternoon where you have nothing to do. See what your hair does with different types of irons, different size irons. Can't hurt. Test your hair out. See what happens. So moving along to the different products and styling products that I use, the first one I want to talk about is your pomades. I use just a general men's pomade. You can use any kind that works well with your hair. The important thing when using a pomade is that it works with your hair well. It's going to hold it in place, it's going to pin back all those flyaways, and it's going to help mold your hair. When using a pomade for vintage hairstyles, you are using it to specifically mold your hair. So, like for example, my swirl right here, I might use a little bit just to kind of swoop back the baby hairs right from my scalp, things of that nature. It's going to work almost like a glue, but like one that you can kind of mold and bend with. I also run these through my curls. If I'm using heat curls, that's going to help keep them intact. The difference between me using a pomade and a hairspray, I use a hairspray if I am done with my hair and that's kind of like the final layer. I use the pomade while I'm sculpting my hair. This is going to hold your hair. It's going to hold your hair, but I use it for sculpting purposes. And then I also use it a little bit for hold. Hairspray, I use it mostly for hold and then a little bit of sculpting. So it just depends on the style. I'm going to do some victory rolls, I will use the pomade just to kind of smooth down those flyaways, and then finish it off with some hairspray just to finish it and seal everything up. If I'm, say, doing a really large curly hairstyle, I'm going to use more of the pomade, a little bit of the hairspray just to give it that hold, things like that. But again, most important thing with any pomade, use one that works with your hair. Biggest factor when getting a pomade. Other things are my styling cream or a hair lotion if that's what works for you. I just use the Smooth Infusion Nourishing Styling Cream from Aveda. This has worked wonders for me. If I've just washed my hair, this is what I put in it. Whether I've washed it at night or in the morning, I always use this, especially if I'm doing a wet set or a wet curl set. I always put this in. This is what gives my hair that hold when it's wet to actually form those curls. Yes, your hair should curl when it's wet. Keyword should. Doesn't always. If you are someone whose hair responds to humidity, that is not my hair. But if it gets really frizzy with humidity, something like this might work for you. Something that fights against humidity might work with your hair. My hair doesn't, actually humidity steams out any form of shape that's in my hair. It's very bizarre, I don't get it. But I always use some sort of nourishing styling cream before doing a wet set or even a hair lotion, just to give it that setting solution to make those curls and make those curls smooth. That's the key. You want to make your curls smooth. You don't want them to be frizzy and big. You want them to be nice and smooth and easy to mold and form into the hairstyle that you want to accomplish. Other things are all of my hairsprays. I have 3 different kinds of hairsprays. I have one for light hold, one for strong hold, one for medium hold. Again, same things. It's all going to depend on how your hair responds. If I'm doing a victory roll set, I need the maximum strength hold. If I'm doing more of a curly hair, I'm going to want a lighter hold because I want it to still have that flow and that bounce. For my swirl right here in a ponytail, I'll put it in more of a medium hold because I don't need it to stay crazy concrete hard. It really just depends on the hairstyle. Play around with different hairsprays, different gels, different pomades. You will figure out what works with your hair. Again, brand so much doesn't matter as long as you are using one that works with your hair and that supports your hair. Keyword, use things that support your hair. Everyone's hair is different. I can't emphasize that enough. Everyone's hair is different. Use what works with your hair. I have 3 different types of brands of hairspray for each different strength because that's what works for my hair. One brand doesn't have one hairspray of different strengths that work on my hair. It doesn't exist. So I have to use 3 different types. And finally, just kind of like the miscellaneous things. Sorry, I got really into my hair products. Kind of the miscellaneous things. I always have some sort of vintage scarf. And I use this, well, I use it as a hair accessory, number 1. But if I am doing pin curls or a wet set, I will tie my curls up in this just so when I'm sleeping, nothing rubs against my pillow, nothing comes out, it all kind of stays in here. The only curls that won't go inside this are going to be my front, usually couple curls right here, just because when you tie it up, it will sometimes create a little crease or a kink in the curl, and you want to avoid that. So I'll usually leave those 2 out. But I got this one from a vintage store. I'm not quite sure what it's made of. I want to say it's vinyl. I could be wrong. But vinyl vintage scarves are the best ones to use. I'm sorry, this is not vinyl. I don't know what it is, but it's just a vintage woven scarf. I got it, I don't know how many years ago, but you can find them on Etsy and different places. So, and speaking of curls, other things I have are just my run-of-the-mill foam rollers. These are great just if I'm doing a quick, simple wet set. I use the different sizes. There's, I think, like 4 different sizes in here for different parts of my hair. Again, use the sizes that work with your hair. Typically, at the top, I'm going to use larger rollers because I need more of a shape up here. On the bottom, I'm going to use the smaller rollers because I need more volume down here. For the most part, larger rollers on top, smaller rollers on bottom, unless you're doing some sort of specialized hair where the instructions specifically say to do it a different way. Yeah, so just plain, nothing fancy, just plain foam rollers. So those are all of my tools that I use to create all my hairstyles, all my vintage hairstyles. Yeah, I hope you guys found this helpful. Let me know what else you want to learn, what else you want to know. Yeah, have a wonderful rest of your evening. Bye!